So, William Shakespeare. You know the name? Of course. Everybody does. But the man himself, he's one of history's greatest mysteries. Today, we're going to dig into the few clues he actually left behind and try to piece together a portrait of the artist and the man behind the myth.
I mean, he gave us lines like this, just profound, poetic, and completely timeless. His words have shaped how we think about love and loss and life itself for over 400 years. It's huge, almost cosmic stuff. And that right there is the big question. Because when you start peeling back all the myths and legends, what you're left with is this really fascinating and kind of surprising mystery. Who was the real William Shakespeare? All right, so this is where it gets tricky. For the guy who is probably the most famous writer in the history of the world, the amount of personal records we have is shockingly small. It's a real nightmare for historians and a huge challenge for anyone trying to understand him. Just think about that for a minute. We have zero personal letters. No journal where he's jotting down his thoughts or frustrations. His head is basically a complete black box to us. All we've got are dry legal papers, business deals, and, of course, the absolute genius of his work.
Okay, so where do we even begin to look for clues? Well, the first stop is his family's pretty dramatic financial story back in his hometown, Stratford-upon-Avon. And this part, it's absolutely key to understanding what made him tick. So Shakespeare's dad, John, had this incredible rise to the top. He climbed the social ladder and basically became the town's mayor. But just as fast as he rose, it all came crashing down. He ran into serious financial problems, probably from some shady dealings with illegal wool smuggling, and his reputation just evaporated. And this is what lights a fire under William. You see, he was supposed to inherit this cushy life as a respected gentleman. But instead, his dad's failure meant he had to go out and make his own fortune. And maybe even more important, he had to restore the family name. This wasn't just a job for him. No way. This was a mission. Okay, let's fast forward a bit. He heads to London. This is after those lost years, a whole chunk of his life we know next to nothing about. He explodes onto the London theater scene, and let me tell you, he does not make a quiet entrance. So this quote, this is the very first mention of him in the London literary scene. And guess what? It's an attack. A jealous rival, Robert Greene, calls him an upstart crow, which is basically 16th century trash talk for who does this actor think he is trying to write plays like us educated guys. This insult proves one thing, though. By 1592, Shakespeare was already making some serious waves. And boy, does he back it up. The guy's output is just staggering. Look at this list. In just a handful of years, he cranks out an insane number of masterpieces, some of the most famous plays ever written. He's not just some writer, he's a creative tornado just churning out hit after hit. But here's the thing. Shakespeare wasn't some starving artist scribbling away in an attic. Oh no, he was a very smart businessman. And every single penny he made in London was part of his master plan. Rebuild the family's wealth and status back home in Stratford. So while he's churning out these incredible plays in London, he's making serious money moves back home. In 1597, he pays a fortune for New Place, the second biggest house in all of Stratford. This wasn't just buying a house. This was a statement, a huge one. It said, the Shakespeares are back. And he was just getting started. 5 years later, he snaps up over 100 acres of farmland. This move cemented his status. He wasn't just a playwright anymore. He was a serious landowner, just like his family was supposed to be. And then comes the ultimate power move for an investor of his time. He buys a share of local church taxes. It was basically like buying an annuity that pays out forever, a guaranteed income stream for the rest of his life. So you see, not just an artist, he was a brilliant and honestly kind of calculating businessman who clawed his family's status back from the brink. But right at the absolute peak of all this success, tragedy hits, and it hits hard. In 1596, his only son, his heir, Hamlet, dies. He was just 11 years old. It's just an unimaginable loss for any parent. The whole reason he was building this empire, his heir, was gone. And this is where life and art just slam into each other in this incredibly profound way. Just a few years after his son Hamlet dies, Shakespeare writes his masterpiece, Hamlet. You just can't ignore the connection here. He takes his own devastating grief as a father losing a son, and he flips it. He turns it into the greatest story ever told about a son mourning a father. All right, let's look at the final chapter of his life, where, believe it or not, the clues get even weirder and more mysterious. Yeah, just when you think you've got him figured out, he throws you another curveball. And this is maybe the biggest curveball of all. This single line from his will is probably one of the most debated, most bizarre things he ever put to paper. The only thing he specifically leaves to his wife of more than 30 years, Anne Hathaway, is the second best bed. I mean, what on earth does that mean? And the mystery gets even deeper when you look at the rest of the will. He leaves money for his theater friends to buy rings to remember him by. A really warm, personal touch, right? But his wife? She gets a piece of furniture. And he just calls her my wife. No sweet nicknames or anything, which was pretty unusual for wills back then. So is this a final bitter insult? A private joke between them? Or something else? The truth is, we have no idea. And his death, well, just like his life, it's wrapped in mystery. He died suddenly, on his 52nd birthday. The only story we have comes from decades later. It claims he was out having a merry meeting with some writer friends, drank too hard, and caught a fever that killed him.
So when you put all these little puzzle pieces together, what do you get? You get this incredibly complex and kind of contradictory picture of a man. He was this super ambitious son, but also a pretty ruthless businessman, a loyal friend and a heartbroken father, a guy who would sue people over tiny debts, but also gave money to the poor, and a husband. Well, his feelings for his wife are a total blank. And maybe that's the whole point. We can't ever really know the man. But maybe that empty space, that mystery behind the words, is what makes his work feel so powerful, so timeless, and, so magical.